Get ready for Real Talk with Pasha B in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk with Pasha B. We are going to be talking about child support today, and I think this is a very important topic for all of us, whether we have children, yes or no. And today in the studio, of course, is everybody's homegirl, Sheneka.
Hey, Pasha, what's up?
Hey, Sheneka, how are you?
I'm swell.
Awesome. And one of our favorite guests, Mark.
And he is.
He really is. You are.
Yeah. You made the list.
You did. Mark Anthony.
You made the list.
I appreciate that.
We have fun when Mark Anthony is here.
Hold on. I'm a man, so we like the rank thing.
But you're really at the top of the list. Like,
Ooh,
really,
I'm the GOAT. Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah. So we definitely have a good time when you're here. Mark Anthony, we are talking about child support, and a little bit of information about you that I know is that you have a child.
Mm-hmm.
You are actually taking care of a sibling as well.
Yep.
In a father role.
Mm-hmm.
And you have custody of your child, correct?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I got custody of a child. It was just my sister.
Okay, got you. But you are
a good man.
Dollar sign all in the eyes.
But you are active in your son's life.
Somewhere he at home right now, waiting on me to come home.
While you sit up here drinking and talking.
Daddy, where you going? Hey, just sit there. I'll be back. That's what Drake does.
So one of the reasons that we're having a conversation about this particular topic is not only does it affect people within our age group and it affects our community, but we have the opportunities of, especially in this media-driven world, we have the opportunity to have insights on other people's lives, entertainment, whether it be people in the entertainment field, athletes, things of that nature, and somewhat their lives are open for us to be thoroughly entertained and also to criticize, right? So there have been numerous stories, especially and unfortunately, of African American men who are celebrities, athletes. They find themselves in these situations where they, after a good time with someone, they find themselves owing or paying $30,000 a month for child support for a child. And I'm not going to say that a child that they didn't want. I will never say that, but I will probably say it was a situation that was unplanned, right? And you may have now upgraded someone who probably didn't have too much, and now they're getting
bag though.
And now they're getting $30,000 a month in child support, or they've intentionally went out trying to find someone to basically be a sponsor, right? Mm-hmm. So on our level, I think we need to have the discussions about what child support looks like for real life people, whether it be married or unmarried, and be cognizant of the decisions that we make when we're making those short-term decisions, like you're in the club or you're out and you decide to have a one-night stand or something like that. Because every sexual encounter, and I'm gonna say every because I'm not gonna say every. I'm gonna say almost every sexual encounter, depending on if there's something medically wrong with you, and that's still iffy in regards to, can produce a child.
That's a fact.
Okay, so do we go into these encounters thinking that every time you lay down with someone, there's a possibility that a child is going to be produced? And are you willing to have a child with this person that you're having this sexual encounter with?
That's an easy one. Nobody. I mean, even at I'm almost 30. Even at 30, shit, people ain't even thinking about that if they thinking about having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten to a point where now I'm like, whoever I have sex with, I have to keep in mind that that's an opportunity to have a child. And I don't mean opportunity like I want it to happen. It just means that semen and eggs gonna do what they do. And right. I don't have, even with, no matter what protection you use as an individual, you can't always account for other individuals or for the rare instances where even men who have like vasectomies still have children. like that guy. I think he got like
Cromartie?
12. Yeah, Antonio
Yeah.
Cromartie.
I think he had like 3 after he had the.
He got a lot of them things.
That thing is strong.
Strong. She a sniper. Straight shooter.
So, the child support laws, if people don't know, they're actually set up for
The woman.
the woman and Jesus, and I fell into that one.
The custodial parent.
For the custodial parent, because it doesn't always have to be the woman.
Yes.
Okay.
I like that, Sheneka. And also the fact of it's for responsible people. When I say responsible people, I'm going to either say people who have intentionally, listen to what I'm saying, who have intentionally planned on having this child to a degree, or married people. Right? The child support laws are not set up for Tyrone and Keisha who fucked last week.
So what you're saying is it's set up for strategic people.
Yes.
Okay.
You like that one better?
Yeah, because responsible. It's some
Responsible.
irresponsible ass marriage.
When I say, well, ooh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I got you with that.
Some dudes already know, like, what? She got 2 of them things now? I might as well. And that's strategic more than shit. I might as well.
Yeah, you're right. Strategic.
Either
Okay.
that or 600 of them things coming out my check.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So, some of we have this habit of always putting the man in the situation like he's on the losing side, which is not. It's true, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's usually true, but it doesn't have to be that way. So one of the things that we also want to talk about in this podcast is everybody knowing what their rights are. Everybody.
No matter how few.
No matter how few.
Sir.
Hey.
So even with that, if you know how few rights you have, especially as a man, wouldn't you, one would think, be more deliberate in who you spread your seed?
No, y'all listen. Y'all don't understand. It's 2 things that happen when men go at women for sex. One of those things is just this beastly nature of releasing some energy.
I'm looking at
and
your
tension.
face, and your face looked like you was about to say some BS.
That's not BS. It's this, and it's
Like, really?
so y'all know that men ain't, like, especially now, men ain't taught to resist anything. What you want it, you get it. It's that microwave mentality. But is that the things people do for a nut?
Can we start thinking more strategically though?
Yeah, but and I talked to somebody about this. Who's teaching us? Who's teaching us
let me ask you,
resilience?
Okay. Aside from maybe not having a mentor or someone to, groom you into the role of manhood, you do know that when tab A inserts into slot B, that there's potentially a possibility that a child will be made.
It's repercussions, yeah.
Jesus.
So,
Jesus.
But
He said
on the
repercussions.
foundational level, isn't that enough?
okay, well, do the same people who steal feel the same way about that? Like, do they be like, man, if I steal this, then you thinking about the gratification sooner than you thinking about the repercussions. So if I
think you're taking a chance, and you know that. Like, and I think the thrill of what you're talking about. No, let me go back to the stealing. I think the thrill of stealing is, can I get away with it? Much like the thrill of having, unprotected sex or whatever.
Tell Aladdin that when he stole that bread.
Oh my God.
That's Disney taught you that. Disney taught you that when Aladdin stole that bread, it wasn't to see if he can get.
Aladdin.
Oh my gosh!
She hasn't seen those.
Put your card on the table. That was the first Black Disney movie. Put your card on the table. Exit stage left. But just to get back to it, like that if you never taught about weighing pros and cons, you only gonna put the pro in front, like what you want in front of it.
You're right, but life experience should be lessons in itself. So we're not talking about the 20-year-olds. We're talking about the closer to 30 and older. Because
I'm gonna tell you how ignorant I was before I had a kid. I didn't think I can have a kid.
Why?
Because I had so much unprotected sex.
There we go. Look. Hey, you think you shooting blanks? You like, Shit, that was about 2.
I did not expect that.
Listen, I was naive. I was a smart, naive person.
Gotcha.
I was just brilliant. I was smart. It was just so stupid in terms of in pockets. Because ain't nobody sit down and was like, yo, like, you knew, all right, you put your thing and her thing and things happen. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, like, you know, nobody sit down and be like, listen, it's not going to happen every time, but it's going to catch you. Right. And when it catch you, this is what it's going to look like. So you need to make this type of decision on this type of woman. Nah. And I swear if I was young now, because I ain't value strippers then. If I was young now and you see these little thick, if a Nicki Minaj was what I wanted when I was younger, I would be a 22, 23-year-old man out here chasing them type of women and they looking for a bag and I'd have gave it to them. One way or another. Front end or back end.
You know what?
And then, but on the other side, it's a lot of women that say, you good. It's a lot of women that say, I'm on that pill. I took that shot. That's why now I touch a woman's arm like Ray Charles.
What you trying to feel for?
You know, they got that thing.
The Noraplant. What is it called? You trying to feel for the device, the apparatus?
Yeah.
No, it ain't.
Listen, I still check. You know how Ray arm checked the wrist? I used to check the arm.
You know what?
Then I heard women's arm was falling off from that.
So when I'm talking about life experiences, even though there is a breakdown of the Black family and the Black society when it comes to teachings and lessons that we should learn, hopefully earlier in life than later, we can bear witness to things that we see around us that's happening to people. Like, it just doesn't always have to happen to you for you to realize it can happen. So with that being said, there are a lot of people out there having children with people that they don't even know.
Yep, we got 70% of kids born out of wedlock in our community. 70%. 40% in the white community.
Okay, so with that being said, with these laws, they are not geared towards, like I was saying, Keisha and Tyrone hooking up and now they having a baby. They don't like each other. They don't know anything about each other. They can't get along. They don't even know how to co-parent successfully. And now somebody's going to lose. Yeah. And I say somebody, it could be people are going to lose because it could also be the child. No, the child is going to lose. You're right. The child is going to lose.
That's the highest probability of loss. And the biggest problem with that, and I talk to women about this, I personally believe that if you are a single parent, you need to prioritize companionship, healthy companionship. And I get so much pushback from that. And it's not a blaming thing. It is, forget what you're going through. What about this child? Because the child already lost, born to lose, essentially. I can pull any statistic out that is just not in favor of a single parent home from either aspect. But what ends up happening is we think that because we are used to doing it alone, that it's meant to be done alone. And so now we like, and people validate that shit. Oh, well, my mom was a single mom and look at me. You are right. You great. You went to school, you got your education, but you cannot have a healthy relationship with people now. Because you've never seen that growing up. And when you saw it, it was an idea. My granddad did it. My uncle did it. Nobody in your house showed you how to talk to women. Nobody showed you how to treat this woman. And you ended up losing. So now you are great and you're seen as a commodity, especially as a Black educated man. You're seen as a commodity, but you don't know how to have healthy relationships with women.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that was on topic, but
it wasn't, but it was
kids
good.
Be losing.
Kids are losing. So again, with these laws, let's talk about the non-married couple and the state of Georgia. That's where we are. Okay. So in the state of Georgia, two people can lay down, have a child. The male can sign the birth certificate.
Or not.
But if he does choose to sign the birth certificate, the only rights that he actually has is financial responsibility over that child. That's all. You can't come pick little Timmy up from school.
Nope.
You can't go to the police saying that she won't let me see my kid.
At all.
You can't show up at the house and say, I want to take him on vacation at Disney.
You need that white man's signature for that.
Or at least someone who's going to let you do it. Because if she decides not to, if she decides to call the police on you because you're outside of the house saying that you're harassing, right? Trespassing. She can call the police and you have to leave, and you have to leave without little Timmy unless unless you have went and legitimized your paternity.
Yeah, because I learned that during my research that there's a difference between signing the birth certificate and legitimizing the kid.
Okay.
And I don't think the vast majority of people know that.
No, they don't. But I'm going to tell you on the Child Support Services, the Georgia Department of Human Health Child Support Services website, and I said I didn't like how they labeled this important information for fathers, but I guess it is for fathers. Just didn't like how they just did that. So it says, determine your legal status. If your child was born in Georgia and you were not married to the child's mother within 10 months prior to the birth or when the child was born, you have, and in capital letters, no parental rights to that child under Georgia law.
Except you could take that picture and put it on Facebook.
Because you can get anybody's picture.
That's about all you can do.
It doesn't matter that you signed the birth certificate. It doesn't matter that you have lived with the child or have a relationship with your child. It doesn't matter if you pay child support. If you are not or have not been married to the mother, your child is born out of wedlock and is not legitimate. Your child ain't even goddamn legitimate, if they say at this point in time. You have legal obligations to your child, but no legal right. If the mother is still legally married to another man, so here you go.
There we go. That's my baby.
Okay. And has a child with you, the, in capital letters, husband is the legal father if the child is born while they are married.
I'm the father of that dear baby boy.
This lack of legal status usually becomes a problem when people split up and daddy wants to have custody or regular visitation with the child.
On the pippin. So this is what just happened in that little phrase. She basically said, if you smash somebody in a 9-month period, and then somebody else swoop in there and say, man, let me go and make an honest woman out of her, or let me make this strategic move to be with this woman, I now have ownership of your baby because I was married to this woman, and this is why a lot of men are slighted, and even in how they feel, like. Because some people might be like, well, you should have just married her. Cool. That's the best way that you could say, why don't you fuck up your kid no matter what? Because if I come in and I say, that's why dudes come in with this might as well, and then at the age of 18, they get divorced and the baby, because that's what, if you baby your kid that much and you say, I'm gonna stay for the kid, that means you have never talked to your kid about healthy relationships and healthy dynamics. And now you fucking your kid up, so they're going to be just as fucked up at 18 when y'all get divorced as they would have been at 4. And now, or stepdad, a.k.a. bonus dad, a.k.a. the husband that ain't your dad. Not my daddy, because you going to...
But so can we interject and just say that stepdads can be, if they're good stepdads, they can actually be a shining light in that situation.
That's why I prioritize getting married. If you know what I'm saying? That's a wonderful thing if another man steps up and say, I'm going to treat this kid as my own in a healthy way. Because some people going to be like, I'm going to beat him just like he mine. But, you got to be healthy about the way you go about it. And what you just said right there is hurtful. And it's a lot of outdated laws that still persist. And my problem ain't with the law. It's black people. Because what we do is we don't understand, like 70% is a huge dynamic, which something different is going on with us. And it's a lot of unhealthy shit. But we also got to understand the people who never want to get married. But how you going to, y'all understand that neither one of y'all never want to get married. Or you agree to his terms of never wanting to get married or vice versa. And you still go through the system now when you didn't want to go through the system to lock down the marriage.
Right. So
you saying we're going to choose this non-traditional route until I feel scorned. Now it's about retaliation. And it's a lot of people, like if Georgia don't recognize common law marriage. There's a lot of people who would black people who would participate in common law marriage. But this fear, because of a lot of failure and just wanting to be anti-white, the fear of us wanting to do that just keeps us out of marriage.
Yep.
Or you done seen so many people fail. But it's a lot of people who know I know I'm going to be with this woman forever. Why don't you get married to her? Nah, that just ain't our thing. That ain't for me. Because and we done seen it. As soon as you put a title on something, now it ain't it ain't good no more.
And you bring up common law marriage, which is funny because that's one of the next bullet points. It says that if you at some point marry the child's mother and acknowledge that the child is yours, this will establish that you are the child's legal father.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia does not acknowledge common law marriages. So you will have to officially get married. And if marriage is not a good solution for you, you must file a petition to legitimate your child in the Superior Court of the county in which you reside in.
Yep.
Sorry, in which you or the child resides in. Mm-hmm. And this will allow the court to enter an order decreeing that you are the legal father of your child.
I want to personally take time to shout out my son's mom. I won't give her name on here, but I want to give her a shout out because we've discussed going through the legal process, and I think at one point in time she came up with it, and then I came up with it. But I'm glad that it wasn't easy, and it's still not. But we don't argue, and we've never gone that way. Jay-Z talked about how one of the worst things for him is to get divorced and like have to be on child support and all of that. That shit is hurtful. And I'm here for my kid, but that shit is hurtful for a man. To his pride, to his ego, it's a stigma as well. It's like, when you want to be that person and you have somebody that's difficult or hurt themselves because of how it ended, and people can't separate being a good father from being a good companion. Like, people just want to feel some sense of satisfaction. And I see that with my brother's situation and his son's mom, to where we supposed to go travel, but we can't travel because she feels some way. And she put him on child support when, let's be honest, you're a shitty parent. Like, her kid has lived with my grandmother, me, and my aunt. And he was supposed to live with us, but she did not want to be on child support herself. Mm-hmm. We don't give a fuck about that. But what you're not going to do is have him live with us, and then you're going to say, well, let me get these SNAP benefits. Let me get this free milk, eggs, cheese. Let me get this free refund, this extra money on my refund check while you taking care of my kid. Mm-hmm. But she felt like, I ain't gonna lie. If I would have took custody of my nephew, my only stipulation was for you to take my brother off and wipe that clean. You need to go talk to because I'm not coming after you, but I still want the best for my nephew. Mm-hmm. But you just have so many hurt people, and black people need to understand. Don't go to the run to the white man now, because now you want some sense of protection. Own up to this shit and say, either I'm going to allow for the people who will allow for this to be this situation and us try to work through this hard ass situation. Or listen, single parenting for a lot of people is a thing. But I feel I'm against child support in a lot of situations, not all.
I have a question for you. Just because you said a lot. Do you recommend two people not married, hooked up, had a child, if they can sit down and work it out outside of the court? Is that what you're recommending?
I'm always for that first. But now this is the unpopular portion.
Because as Pasha just said, technically you have no rights.
Right. So I'm first for y'all being, because I talked to a few lawyers when I was thinking about putting myself on. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you got to understand what the court is for. The court is for two grown-ass people who can't deal with situations themselves.
Right.
So that's the first thing. Mm-hmm. Cool. If y'all can't deal with this shit on y'all own, then go to the court. But why can't the court be mediation first?
Well, I think the first thing is to make sure you know the person who you're laying down with and have some type of, instead of a short-term goal with that person, a long-term goal, so that if and when things do go bad or there's a dissolution of the relationship, you're not in these situations. Because again, there's two things that it's your responsibility when you decide to procreate, is that you purposefully co-parent so that this child is healthy and productive. Mm-hmm. That is your only responsibility in the beginning, right? I think overall, when it comes to this child, because it's not about you anymore. When you decide to have a child, whether it be on purpose or not, it's not about you. This child didn't ask to be here. Who really cares that you don't like this woman and you didn't know this woman? Because it's not about you anymore. It's about this child. So one of the things, again, that we're talking about is stop laying down with these people, or stop, try to curb this behavior of wanting to feel good and not knowing what that could end up looking like.
I would be for that.
Oh, here we go. You got
and
to
I'm
be for
not
that.
against it.
You got.
And
are you for it?
We got to understand
wait,
what one of the
that
first sins in the Bible was. That fruit. So we cannot listen. Sex, as sexualized as our culture is, it's wonderful. It's wonderful, but it's cyclical.
What did you say, Pasha? Could you speak a little louder?
Listen. So okay. So now that that's a wonderful message, and I agree. No. Come on. I agree with it. What you gonna do next? Because you can't give everybody ain't receiving this. Now what? Well, now that seed in there.
So now that it is, understand what your legal rights are. Mm-hmm. Right? So I do agree with the fact that if you don't have to get the courts involved, don't get them involved. Because at that once you get the courts involved, everybody kind of becomes the suspect. What do I mean? No matter who's initiating the child support case or the order, at least what I've experienced personally is that everybody then has to submit their finances in order to make a determination of what the non-custodial parent should pay.
Can I interject with one point about that? Fathers, if you want to be ahead of the game, at least in terms of perception, you will do that first. It is always seen as you don't get many points as a father. But if you go there, I don't think any man should ever go to court just for money. You gotta say, one, I would think that you would initiate it because the judge is gonna see it as a difference. Mm-hmm. It's gonna see that you have some sense of investment
instead of reactive.
Yes. And then the other portion of that is you should never go and make it about finances. You should if you spending that money, because a father has to, if you spending that money, you gotta negotiate your time too.
Oh yeah, you talking about visitation?
Hell yeah, visitation and what the term is. Not even just visitation. What my term is? Am I what do they call it?
Full custody.
Full custody, joint custody.
I agree. Either way. I do agree that it should not be about the money, but just be mindful that when you go into the process that everybody becomes a suspect and everybody has to provide their documentation as evidence.
Oh no, as a man we feel different because it's, what's that say? Mama's baby, papa's maybe. The court see it the same way.
Explain that.
Because women do have to submit their information, right? But it don't matter because the baby yours. So you're not a suspect because it's already yours. They're not taking away anything from you. They gonna say this ain't your baby for the man, or they gonna say prove that it is. So you're gonna say this from my womb.
So
my baby.
What I'm gonna say is that my experience with child support, and no. Okay. My experience with child support is not in the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I wish I looked up different. I was like, because one of the things that we did was I told her. She asked me. I always ask my son, mom, like we got into like a little back and forth on kind of negotiating, but not really. Mm-hmm. I would say, what do you think's fair? She would say, Georgia's law.
Ha! Oh, she was trying to throw your ass under the bus.
Right. So I said, because this is at a time where, he would be with me 3 days a week. And I said, well, why don't we split it up? Why, like Georgia law don't account for time spent. Mm-hmm. California law does. A few other states do. So I'm like, well, why would you, if he's with me and I still got to buy diapers and I still got to do this, well, why don't we just make this a little more... I never like to use the term fair. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be
balanced, fair. Maybe.
I don't care what the term is. As long as it ain't
it's never
fair.
Going to be even.
That's damn skippy. Mm-hmm. But let's make this a little more logical in terms of accounting for time spent.
Okay.
And that's Georgia. That's how you know it ain't nobody that give a fuck. They
right.
Like, nigga, you should have stayed.
So also in the state of Georgia, when you file a petition for legitimation of your child, it says you may include a request for visitation, as Mark Anthony was saying, and I agree. And I will say that Sheneka agrees as well. Yeah. Instead of saying you may, it should say you must, you should Include a request for visitation, which is parenting time. And if the court grants your petition to legitimate, you can at the same time get an order for parenting time. You may enforce that order if the mother refuses, and I'm setting you up, Sheneka, for the story that we were talking about. Refuses to comply with your court order visitation or parenting time. You may have a standing to seek custody if you believe you can prove to the court that it is in the best interest of the child to live with you.
Well, that's a task.
So which story? The one I just told you
that
about
today? That is a task.
About the... Okay, so I was on social media, and there is a law firm that has been doing just Q&As online, and it's some really good information. And one of the things she spoke about recently, there was a case in DeKalb County, and apparently, I think it's on World Star, but it's circulating, of a young lady who is getting arrested. DeKalb County is knocking on her door with a warrant for her arrest. And the charge is something to the effect of interference with visitation. Right? Did you see that?
No, but my heart. So sad. My heart got a little warm.
So the thing is, it's twofold. One of the conversation I had with Pasha was, this is what you're talking about, a man knowing his rights and exercising his rights, but at the same time, to watch the video, it really is heartbreaking because the kids are there as their mother is getting cha-chinged and taken off to jail.
Wait, cha-ching?
Cha-ching.
You mean clink, clink?
Oh, clink, clink. My bad.
Cha-ching is when
that's money.
When
right?
you find that man that got that money.
Yeah. So they're locking her up. Out. And they told the cousin who came to get the kids, we're taking her down to DeKalb County. However, she will be extradited to Alabama to answer for these charges.
Ooh.
I know. Oh, and I get it, right? Mm-hmm. Because on the flip side, you have men who get arrested all the time. Men who are going to jail all the time. Exactly. For not paying child support, whatever, you know?
That's what it's called, obstruction. You don't go for not paying child support. So you're obstructing the court order.
Is it contempt? A contempt or
obstruction?
Okay,
of justice, I think.
No.
Is it
contempt of court. Sorry, because you didn't do what the judge said.
What the order was already in contempt, right?
Obstructing is if somebody had tried to stop them officers.
Yeah, and here you go. You got me piggybacking off of your ass.
So you have this man who knew his rights.
Black man.
He knew his rights.
Mm-hmm.
He went down to the court. He filed those contempt charges. Got the warrant, and she is getting hauled off to jail to go answer for why she interfered. Now, I didn't get the backstory or anything like that as far as how that turned out, but it is a video that's circulating on social media. You can Google it or what have you. So, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you talk all the time about men knowing their rights. Men, you don't have to bend over and take what the court is giving you.
You
right?
don't. And I honestly believe, without knowing all the particulars, I would like to have some background. Was it something that she did? Because we have a tendency to be very vindictive and petty and spiteful. You know what I'm saying? So, and Mark Anthony shaking his head.
That's real.
But, in agreement.
That's real as shit.
And that's where I brought back to the fact of stop being, it's not about you. Right. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the order was. I don't know what she did to then be in contempt, but did the father, and could it be a back and forth petty thing where he had been to jail or he had been handcuffed, thrown under the bus a couple of times by her, and now she did something and I'm getting you back? Or was it something that could have been discussed and he didn't have to go the route of doing that because the children lost more primarily in that because they saw their mother getting arrested. And it's the same when the father gets arrested. Here it is again.
It's not the same, though.
For me, it's the same.
No, and I get it. I'm saying it's not the same because fathers are not seen as a priority in our society and even in our community.
As a whole.
Black fathers.
Gotcha.
Because when a white father...
No, I think fathers in general.
Man, I say that because we talking about 70% here. Mm-hmm. So usually... more often than not, the father not in the house. Mm-hmm. So it's a story that's told instead of a reality that's seen. Whereas in the white communities, children out of wedlock account for only 40%. So that means majority of the fathers are in home, which means the majority of the fathers won't be dragged off to jail and children won't even hear about some shit like this happening.
Got you.
So it's worse for us because now that's all it takes is for you to go to jail to produce something to say he less fit. Mm-hmm. all it takes for him to go to jail. Did you know that a jaywalking ticket is $300?
Mm-hmm. In Georgia crazy.
So
is that a thing?
Yeah, we just had a discussion about this. Jaywalking ticket $300. Then you get on probation if you can't pay it up front.
Yep.
That's how probation works. You got to fine with the court.
That's how it is in Georgia.
You got to pay.
That's how it is in Georgia. Or you're going to be on
probation.
No matter even if it's a traffic ticket.
No, I didn't hear about the traffic ticket.
But the jaywalking, which everybody does.
Somebody had a jaywalking ticket.
Yes.
If Atlanta be struggling sometimes. So
Atlanta real petty.
That's what it takes for you to get on probation. And all it takes is really
now you in the system.
Yes. For you to be so you might get caught on that. Then if you get any type of thing with the court, if you can't pay that, let's be honest, if you can't pay that $300 for that, how you gonna pay child support? Mm-hmm. Because if you make minimum wage, the minimum you're gonna pay is $2 something a month. So you got it. Like these things are very systematic, and that's why if I can in any way, shape, or form circumvent this system that we in, it's just not helpful for us because now you get into stigmas. Now you get into these things that all create a narrative about this man more often than not for the child, for the court who gives no fuck. There's very few times where you might see it on Facebook where a black judge is like, "Woman, you need to respect that he's trying." Mm-hmm. But in reality, it's a large level of disrespect and disregard for the man because he's not seen as a necessity until his pockets come into play.
Okay, I'm gonna swallow that one because I was gonna say man or going back to non-custodial parent because and more than not it is the man, but I think we're going on this vicious circle. Why does it always have to be the man? You know what I'm saying? My 100% thought about it is that the most fitting person should be the custodial parent. It does not have to be the woman.
That's the court's view.
It's
just there's no formality about it.
So do you feel like the vast majority of men who are not the custodial parent even exercise their right to petition the court to get custody of their child?
Let's be realistic because I thought about it more than a few times. But I'm very psychological with it. I know that my son is young. He needs his mom. So my thing is instead of he needs a level of nurturing that I couldn't provide at a young age.
I will respect that.
And he needs it's not to say that he don't need me. But my whole thing with it is being very mindful of he gonna need this level of love that his mom gonna give him. And for me, I'm trying to do what I can do right now to set myself up. I'm gonna get married.
So at that point in time, you were not the best
fit,
and I could respect that.
But I personally believe right now I'm the best fit. But it's because being the best fit is ridiculous. Now let's say I make more money. I've taken my time to go to school. I've invested in myself. People can say, well, his mom don't have that luxury to do that because she's taking care of a kid. Cool. Now, if I say, well, why don't he stay with me while you go invest in your future? She going to be like, fuck no. Mm-hmm. Because that's a sense of, like, you know, a lot of people wouldn't check themselves and say, he going to do what's in the best interest of us. They're going to be like, nah, he taking my kid from me. And just like, it's an ego hit to any mom.
Or that child support from me.
Well, but I'm only speaking in the terms of the people who don't even go through the court for child support. Mm-hmm. But that's a reality too.
It is.
Because I'm losing so much benefit from having this. And it might not just be child support. I'm going to lose child support. I might lose food stamps.
You're going to lose that EIC?
Mm-hmm. That I'm gonna lose. That's it, real. Niggas do not want. I don't have my spout with that. I ain't gonna even touch on it. But that's you losing so many benefits, and you like shit. I might as well like my kid going to daycare at this very discounted rate, or they going to kindergarten for free. School started, ain't no burden. I'm gonna provide the bare minimum. And you start thinking about that. That's so much easier to do because it's so much of what you've already been doing.
Right.
As opposed to, let me go get my education and try to work on me doing better. You're going to be like, man, if that ain't in my plans, it ain't in my plans. If pursuing your education and pursuing a career is, then you might want to check your ego and say, is this person a fit person?
Right.
Am I, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so much dysfunction in our community. And it does start with who you select and moves on to us checking our own ego and saying what's the proper way for the child as opposed to what's the most beneficial way for me.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about. Go ahead, Sheneka.
Oh, I was going to jump in about the male abortion.
Go ahead.
Did you want to go? Okay. So there was an article that was released a couple years ago, and it was out of Sweden, right? And the gist of the article was men having the same opportunities to remove themselves from the responsibility of being a parent as a woman, right? And what they were petitioning for, what they were asking for, was a man having the opportunity to withdraw from the role of being a parent up to the 18th week of the pregnancy.
Set it up for us, Sheneka. Give us the visual.
Hold on.
Let her give the visual.
18th week. I'm tripping.
Yeah.
I'm like 18 months. Walking.
Elephant.
Daddy! No. Last day, man.
Set it up for us, Sheneka.
Okay, so Mark Anthony, I'm pregnant. I'm 2 months pregnant right now.
No problem.
You decide, you know what? I don't want to be a father. You, as it stands now, don't have a right to say, hey, I don't want to be a father, terminate the pregnancy or what have you. However, conversely, if I say, Mark Anthony, I'm 2 months pregnant, and you're like, oh, great, baby, we're going to have this baby in this wonderful life. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready, Mark Anthony. And I'm going to terminate this pregnancy. You have no right over whether or not I can terminate this pregnancy.
That is a fact.
So what they're saying is a man should have the same opportunity. So they're giving you...
Shout out to Sweden. I'm going to be honest about this. Shout out to Sweden. Go ahead.
So
18 weeks, though.
18.
I got to count on my fingers on this one. 4
weeks of you removing yourself from that responsibility. You won't be responsible for child support. Once you decide to remove yourself,
that's 4.5 months, right?
You don't have to. You don't have to pay child support. You're not responsible for any care or anything for this child once you remove
That's
yourself.
just a proposal?
Yeah,
it's in Sweden, sir. It ain't coming to. You know that shit ain't coming to the United States.
Just where jets fly.
You know what?
but what we're doing,
they're very liberal. So they said like 84% of the citizens of Sweden, they support a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy. So they're very pro-choice in general.
Mm-hmm.
How much of them are pro-man choice?
You know,
obviously.
So we're just talking about that whole concept. Mm-hmm. So, and also in various discussions that have been had about opportunities to remove yourself, they said, woman, we all have the opportunity in the beginning as far as using contraception, right, to prevent the pregnancy. Mm-hmm. Once a pregnancy occurs, now a man has no more options after that, right? Mm-hmm. So a woman, she can take a plan B, she can take the abortion pill, she can terminate the pregnancy, she can give it up for adoption. She can do multiple things along the course to remove herself from the responsibility of taking care of a child. The man, you only get one and done, and that's strapping up before or doing
praying to God, praying to all the gods.
Roller coaster ride.
I don't even want to talk to you right now. Pushing it down the stairs, right? Yeah. Oh, no.
I ain't say that.
I'm looking at your face, Mark. But how do you feel about a man at some point saying, you know what? I didn't ask for this. I don't want any responsibility whatsoever, and not being held financially liable for taking care of this child that he didn't want.
I'm going to start off by saying people need to know just because you sign over your custody.
No, we're talking. No.
I'm going to get into that. No. Unless we get into that.
Listen to the context of what she's saying.
I'm talking about America, and then I'm going to jump to Sweden.
No, we ain't talking about America right now. We're talking about.
Because I love the idea.
Right.
I'm going to start off with I love the idea.
Okay.
And this is just what people need to know. Just because you sign that paper over in America that say, I don't want this kid, I'm giving up that, you still got to pay.
Child support.
There we go. So, now, I love the idea. Because 4.5 months, 18 weeks, is enough time to say, I've invested in this woman and this was intentional, or I'm going to stay with this woman for the foreseeable future.
And it also correlates, I just want to say, it also correlates with the time frame a woman has to terminate a pregnancy.
Right. Yes. That, because... Excuse me. I hate that, and I'm gonna be honest. Some people, because it's a difference between somebody that have sex one night with you, or they have sex with you and y'all have this arrangement that this is sex, and somebody get caught up and they say, I want to keep it. There's a difference between that and somebody saying, I want to be with you and we're having sex. And what people end up doing is somebody might get emotionally tied to the person or the child and say, nah, now the situation has changed. And that is usually the woman who has 100% of the power to essentially dictate your life. So you as a man, you get one time at one moment to make one decision. And then the woman has ample amount of time to say, I do or don't want this kid, even if they give it up for adoption once it's born. So it's like, and people always come back and say, well, you should have made one responsible decision. You should have known better than who you messed with. Well, if y'all had, let's say we have an agreement, a signed agreement in the beginning, the court don't give a fuck.
Right.
So it don't matter what I say as a man, and I get it. Everybody should be responsible, but there's a sense of recklessness on all parts. This portion where you say, and I think 4.5 months gives enough a man enough time to say, I do or don't want to invest in this, and a woman enough time to say, I get it. So if he's not going to invest in this and I don't want to do it alone, now I can make a decision
as well. I agree.
So I think I won't even say that the man should have as much time.
No, I think they should.
No, I'm saying that because let's say we good until we get into an argument.
Right, because 4 months and 1 weekend, you and Sheneka may get into an argument.
You gonna know if you acting like a little bitch or them cravings.
Right.
And peanut butter, Bill? 2 in the morning, I ain't get no goddamn peanut butter and banana. What's wrong with you?
I think the idea is awesome.
Give me 3 months. 3 months, because now she got another month and a half to say, okay, because if he switch up, he like, baby, I'm gonna be with you, and then he switch up and be like, nah, man, I seen this thick ass.
Or what about her changing her mind? Like, what if she doesn't want to be with him? You know what I'm saying? Then that gives him the option as well to be like, okay, she not acting. I see it the other way around
more often. Because dudes is logical and women are emotional. So women still might, even if you say you don't want to fuck with me, you might create an emotional attachment because there's
but how many women are getting pregnant because they're trying to trap a man or they think it's going to change something?
I don't know the percentage, but I do.
Hold on, we're in Atlanta, so it's skewed. Women in Oklahoma might not be doing that so much, but
right. But I think giving a man an option, giving him the time to think about it, because we're not saying that you got 2 weeks.
Talk to his homeboy.
2 weeks once you find out, and then you got to make a decision.
Don't let a nigga talk to his homeboy. So they come back. He'll tell you everything when y'all laying down. I'm pregnant, baby. I'm gonna be here for you, bro. She said she pregnant, bro. You know they got that eject button, bro. Go on ahead.
But I do think it gives the man an option. I really think it does.
You know what? I also think that it would force people to be a little more responsible.
We wouldn't be at 70%.
A little
probably
more
be at 59.
responsible.
Knowing that he can check out.
He can check out and not be financially responsible.
And when you 16.
Say that again one more time.
Being financially responsible.
Which then creates wealth in our black community. Because black men are able to succeed and black women are able to succeed. And it creates a nice habitat for us both.
As far as making better decisions.
As far as having an opportunity to make another better decision because you flubbed on that last one. It's like no redemption for a man after because it's almost like once I say we're going to lay together and you say we're going to lay together, that's a us decision. From that point until the other 9 months, everything is up to you. So you can say at month 1 and 2, I'm done with this. And then at month 3 and 4, then like, nah, I want to keep it now. And you have that luxury.
So let's also talk about viewing business as viewing marriage as a business.
Okay.
Right. So, are we intentionally, as a male, female, that's potentially gonna hook up? Or relationship. Let's talk about relationship.
Okay, yeah.
Let's talk about relationship. We're not talking about smashing anymore. We're talking about, because again, we're contrasting the difference between marriage and non-marriage. And non-marriage, there's an umbrella of that because there's relationships.
My homegirl.
So viewing marriage as a business. So give me some points or some thoughts about from a male perspective about viewing marriage as a relationship?
As a business.
As a business, shit.
So I'm going to say this. I don't think that Black people have the luxury of not prioritizing finances. So I see it as a business. And that does not mean that there's zero relationship in business.
Right.
But it does mean, like, if I'm talking to someone and I say, what is it that I want from you? I can still fall in love with a woman, but at the end of the day, that woman has to be along with the business plan that either I'm creating or we create. It's going to be a we, unless she has no business mind.
Gotcha.
But it is then me informing her of the business that we are going to create together.
And explain to me, when you say taking finances out of it, explain to me, what do you mean when you say the business?
What you mean finances out of it? There is no finances out of it.
No. Finances is a part of it, but taking because when I say business, like if I'm going into business with you, I think we need to have like-minded. We need to have an objective. And
if you in business, are you in business to make money? Are you a nonprofit business?
No, what I'm saying is finances. Because we know people, one of the main reasons that people divorce is because of money.
Yes.
So we're never going to take the financial building out of a relationship, out of a marriage. But there has to be commonality. So when you're in business with someone, there has to be a common objective. And it's not always about money. It could be about creating a legacy, right?
I did a soapbox about that one. That was good.
I try sometimes, whether it be like-minded things, because what may be important to you in a marriage is religion. What may be important to you in a marriage is education. What may be important to you is background, morals, things of that nature. So taking the financial aspect out of it alone, what are some of the components about thinking as marriage as a business that we need to be in tune with, that we need to have on our checklist when we're thinking about taking that next step? Because again, the end result is when children are involved. If we think about marriage, if we're building, if we're thinking about working together for the purpose of bam, 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 then that may have the ability to clear out some of this mess. Like when we get together, it shouldn't always be that we're getting together for sex. We're getting together for money. There has to be something outside of that. So thinking about marriage as a business, what are some of the key components you think that would look like? Because we've talked about finances, and finances is important.
Yes.
Pin something else for me.
Okay. I think that you should have primary objectives and even secondary objectives with dates.
Gotcha.
So you can have your overall goal, which is 2030, 2025. This is what we are going to do together. Then you have to say, how are we going to work towards those? If outside of finances, if your overall goal is to build a legacy, cool. That's a wonderful idea. How? Why is this important? You have to come up with your why. Why are we doing what we are doing? And then you have to say, after that, I think the pursuit of happiness is idealistic, but what do you do? If happiness is one of your things, what do you do on a daily basis to maintain that consciousness together? Okay.
And viewing the marriage as a business when the children are involved.
Oh, hell yeah. So when children are involved, you got to talk about education. You got to talk about upbringing in terms of spirituality, especially because I don't know what the hell equally yoked means now, but everybody got their own definitions. But how are you going to rear those children? I'm not a Christian, but I subscribe to a lot of Christian teachings. I just don't think, my way of thinking about it is a lot different. So it'll be easy for me to get with a Christian woman, but we have to find out how that aligns together, because that don't mean I'm going to church every week. But we still need to figure out how we're going to talk to our children about Christianity and how they are going to grow. And then on my end, for that, the thing I want to do is, cool, now that we have taught them Christianity, how are we going to give them an opportunity to make their own decision? So all of these things have to align when you're talking about how you approach it. Education, religion, being a good person. If you think about it like a business, how are y'all going to work on your children being good people?
Right.
How are you going to work on your children pursuing their dreams and even as a business partner, I need to talk to my wife formally and say, babe, I feel like you pushing your agenda on our children. We need to come up with another way to, or I don't like to put one up. I think that how I would approach it is, babe, I think we are pushing our children in a certain way. Why don't we open it up a little bit so that we can give them an opportunity to learn, but develop their own cognition about how they should feel about it instead of us giving it to them. And you have to be strategic in that. And that's where the business comes in. No business is done unintentionally. You sit down and you plan for it. Marketing is planned. Finances are planned. Public relations are planned. You need to figure out what skills you might want your kids to attain.
And that's, or even outside of the kids, you individually you want to pursue, because I think oftentimes what we see is women taking on, or not even taking on, but kind of putting their needs and desires and dreams to the side and focusing on either their husband or their children or what have you, and that can cause sometimes like depression or cause self-esteem issues or what have you.
I had a talk with a woman about this. I'm gonna touch on something that Brother Miko said one time.
Okay.
Brother Miko.
I talked with a woman, and one of the things I said was men need to start supporting women because single moms don't have the luxury to get sick. And it's all of these, they don't have the luxury to get sick. They don't have the luxury to be tired. So we have to find a way to support them. And that's why I push for what I push for. One thing that Miko said, he said, it's okay to be selfish. And I immediately, as a mom, as a parent, it's okay to be selfish. I immediately disagreed with him. And we had a conversation and I came to understand what he was saying, because if I'm selfish, and it's not fully selfish, if I'm selfish to some degree, if I'm a single parent and I have a child, I need to selfishly pursue. I don't need to pour everything into my kid going to football practice and my kid doing this. And that I need to be able to sacrifice my own desire to want to be unselfish, because that's usually what happens when you're a parent, and say, I need to do better. Because if I'm making $30,000, but my potential is $70,000 and I never pursue that potential, I have to be selfish enough to say, let me go to school.
Yeah.
And that's a selfish thing to say, I'm going to go to work from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then go to work from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. What's going to happen with my child? Because that's what people think. But we usually have more than enough resources if we really planned out how that's going to go. So,
and I bring up child support, viewing marriage as a business, because we just talked about being strategic, planning, purposeful, but we won't do that when it comes to thinking about the decisions that we make that could potentially lead to a child being born.
I won't say that, though.
You said that in the beginning a couple times, Saucy McFlossy.
I won't say that in regard, because the amount is as adults. So we're going to start at 18.
Okay.
As an adult, fuck it. We can go before that. The priority for marriage is not set for when you are 16.
Mm-hmm.
The priority for marriage is set when you mid-20s. So when you're 16, you thinking mid-20s is when I'm going to make this responsible decision to get married, which is very strategic.
Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, our audience is people that are...
But when we talk about recklessness, we can... A lot of people, I'm going to be honest, if you 32 and you still... unpopular opinion here. Mm-hmm. If you're 32 and you still having kids out of wedlock, you need to reprioritize. Really, you really do.
But that's what's happening. You know what I'm saying? You have people who are 40 years old, 45-year-old, still making dumbass decisions like that.
So I think that's where we were really talking about the difference in what we're saying.
Right.
Because I'm thinking that as a young because I had mine at a late, quote unquote, later age. I was 24 and still ignorant.
No, we're talking about, because again, the audience that we deliver this content to primarily is people that's us older.
Okay, let me redirect this. Ladies.
Where does sexy voice come from, really?
Ladies and gentlemen, stop fucking unintentionally. Women, you best fuck. If you gonna fuck unintentionally, fuck for a come up. Fellas,
Sheneka.
Hold on. Fellas, don't fuck
Pasha sips her tea.
Fellas, I'm in Atlanta, so I don't know where y'all are. Fellas, these women are educated and smart. Now, they got some emotional work that they need happening, but fuck a woman that got something to lose too. So she might, but the problem is, if you're talking about an older woman, one of the things is, a woman might have sex with a man understanding the situation that this is just sex, but that biological clock gonna fuck him up. Because she like, shit, I'm too old to have an abortion. I'm too old to...
No. I think that there is a large percentage of older women who knows what they want and what they don't want. Fuck a biological clock.
But there's also this... I know I could name something offhand right now that I know, and it's not a small group, because I love talking to women, but I know a lot of women who clocks is like, listen, if it happened at this point, because I done pressed that eject button early.
I would agree.
Yes.
And I would say,
yes,
there with that, those women are able to and willing to take care of that child on their own.
And that's toxic.
Regardless of the father's participation.
That's toxic.
Well, you say that's toxic because why?
Because, one, at that point, you need to be intentional in who you are messing with. Right?
They are being intentional. They just want that seed.
But it's some women who still give in to that desire. And I understand it's been 6, 8 months, 2 years.
He's a dirty motherfucker.
Why he a dirty motherfucker? Because men don't have... You. Who, me?
Yeah.
What? I ain't out here fucking. I'm good. Listen, I've been good for a while.
Because
and I appreciate myself for that.
What I hear you saying
Tell me what you hear. What you hear might not be what I'm saying.
And it might not be.
Go ahead.
It might not be. What I'm hearing you say is that there are some women, especially when they get older in age, that are not worrying about necessarily a relationship, but worrying about having a child.
Oh yeah.
No. Well, you got to.
Because that's what I'm hearing him say.
You got to understand too.
Well, that's what I said.
You got to understand too, but you got to understand that if people don't focus on being healthy companions. So you might be 34 and be an unhealthy companion, and that's not a necessity for you to. You gonna want
procreate.
No, you gonna say, I want somebody who want me for me, not I need to be the best individual to be a recipient of a companion. There's some bitter motherfuckers out here who feel like they deserve a good man based off of what's on paper, but they don't know shit about being a good companion.
I agree.
And they don't. It's people that's anti-progression within themselves and within being a companion. But let you get a bad review on your yearly, your annual for your job. You gonna, boss, let me know what I need to do to make this right. I will do whatever it takes to make this right.
But you know what? With a job, usually
they're gonna file a grievance.
The job is seen as a necessity.
It is.
The man is not.
I don't know if I agree with that. What I can say is, at a job, right? When you go in, they lay down what the job description is. There are expectations. There are guidelines and procedures that are supposed to be followed. Correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And this is where I say I don't think that people view marriages or relationships with the foundation or the structure somewhat like a business, right? So what's the objective of this marriage? What are the expectations? What are your intentions? What are y'all going to communicate through the process? This is what I'm talking about. You know, we talk about EIC. You know what EIC?
It ain't? No, as soon as you said it, I was like...
The first time that I mentioned it, I was talking about from Texas.
Okay. Had to make sure I was...
But on prior podcasts, we've talked about EIC being expectations, intentions, and communicating. Okay. Right. So when I heard you say that, you know, it's these older women out here, what I heard was they're not worried about the relationship aspect of it, because when they get older and their biological clock is ticking, all they're worrying about is having a child. There are some that want that. And then there are some who are at the point in their life in which they're able to understand or know what they're expecting from someone. Right. Expectations. If I get in a relationship with you right now, I need to know what I'm expecting from Mark, and Mark needs to know that as well.
Not even a relationship.
Hold on, I ain't done.
I'm talking about prior to a relationship.
You're absolutely right, because EIC doesn't necessarily go in order, right? So also, before you step into a relationship, what is your intent? what's your intention with this person? When a dude meet a female or vice versa, initially, you know what your intentions are. And your intentions may change.
To smash.
It can change no matter what it is. But there is an intention that's there because you don't engage with someone without there being an intention of something. Your intention of engaging, with having a conversation could just be to conversate. But there's an intention there, right? Then there is an expectation of what you need and if this person can satisfy that expectation. And if you can satisfy theirs, everybody better know what they expect of someone. Because if you don't, whether it be personal or professional, if you don't know, people are going to treat you any kind of way, right? And then there is communication. So older women, I'm 30 plus, right?
Couldn't tell.
Right?
Plus.
Oh, shit. Okay.
This the fourth time this motherfucker done said that.
Oh, shit.
It's okay.
Plus or minus. How about that? Give or take.
Same age.
Give or take a couple of them things.
But I'm at a point in my life in which I can communicate what my expectation is and my intention, right? And if you can't get with a motherfucker who can communicate that and understand it, y'all don't need to be together. Bottom line.
Or you got to take what he gonna give you.
Oh, no, because again, if you don't meet my expectation. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm talking about Sheneka's. And I'm talking about Mark Anthony. Whatever your expectation is, if a person can't meet it, right? And you've communicated it and they can't meet it, step. I'm
glad that I'm a man because we got luxuries. And I'll be honest with you, when I'm a clear communicator when I know, like I'm gonna come at you and be like, hey, how you doing? We gonna have a conversation. All right, cool. Soon as that happens, I know how far I can take whatever with you. And with my intent, sometimes I might want to come up with you. I might see you with a necklace on and it got Africa on it. And I just want to have a hotel convo.
Yeah.
I want to wake up. I want to have that woke convo. And then in the first few minutes, I can see if we going to have that. And then if not, you don't fulfill my intent. But as a man, I have the luxury of always putting out, and I'm slightly educated.
So let me ask, why do women not have the same luxury that you're talking about?
Because there's a perceived rarity.
I don't care about the perceived.
No. It's supply and demand, baby.
No.
It's seen as a very shortage.
You're absolutely probably right.
It's seen as a shortage.
I'm gonna tell you this.
You can. And it doesn't happen.
Tell me what the fuck.
You can. And it doesn't happen as often because competition drives that out of women.
You're absolutely right. You're right. I'm not being
strong and connected as black women seem.
You're right.
Y'all be divisive when that.
You're right. But what I wanted to
when that dick.
When that good old dick.
When they got gray sweatpants on.
What I do want us to.
My gray sweats.
All jokes aside, I do want us to understand that without the outside variables or the outside obstacles that you need to get your EIC in check. You really do. And if that means that you're waiting and you can have fun while you're doing it, don't get me wrong. But again, you understand what that EIC means, even if these relationships are not long-term relationships.
I want to add something to that, the EIC.
Don't take it.
No, I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it.
Don't let me see this on your Facebook page.
I think one of the fallacies, I won't remember. If I ain't tweeting it now. I want to say one of the fallacies is people have expectations for others, but they don't check their own.
No.
So there's no reciprocating. And even I see a lot of men of value pass up on women with high expectations because the high expectations are only for others and not for themselves. And so that's what happened with these kids here. And sometimes it ain't even that you're not a good woman to have a kid with. It's that you don't look like a good parent. You might be smart and doing your thing, but you might seem like a hurt individual. I just wanted to bring it back to the kids. You might seem like a hurt individual. You might seem like a bitter person. You might seem like a person who, like, I had a conversation of, I don't whoop my son. I have, and then I hurt myself. And once I got reflective on it, because I knew that was for me. It showed a lack of really creativity in how to discipline and how to get a point across. But I tell black people that.
Oh my God.
I tell black, right? She twitching.
She is.
I tell black people that. They hate when I say it. It was literally 13 against 2 when I had this conversation. There was one other brother who said, I agree with you. And a lot of other people was like, well, it helped me. Cool. How your relationship with how do you deal with aggression? How's your relationship with people? And what does that teach people? Oh, well, you teach you not to fuck with me. It teach you that I'm the parent and you the kid. And that's what you're going to teach the kid is fear. Mm-hmm. I keep comparing this to work. Go to work and let somebody threaten to fire you every day. That's not the same thing as somebody being creative and trying to bring the best out of you or coaching you.
Absolutely.
It's just not.
All right. We got to touch on one last thing. Assets of reproducing and who gets what?
Assets?
Assets. So when I say assets. That can be that too. So two people get together. Mm-hmm. Not married, child involved. One person dies.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. So they're not married and not involved?
No. The relationship is over with.
Okay. How many kids?
Let's just say one.
One among... I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, set it up. Uh-huh. So Mary and Joe get together. No, Mary and Joe have a baby. Joe passes away. Joe named child as beneficiary of his assets. Do you know, because Mary is the custodial parent if the child is under 18, mm-hmm. Mary then has say-so over Joe's money, mm-hmm. even though it's the child's money. Do people understand that?
That's just like Social Security.
It's an asset. Yeah. So I don't even think that we understand that there are procedures that are put in place where, and I say that because we put beneficiaries on things and of that nature, and we never know when there's children involved what that looks like if something happens to you and that money goes to now the child and the child is under the age of 18. Mm-hmm. So there is...
Or when there are multiple children by multiple women.
Multiple children.
So that's a discussion that we had, that they're just as entitled to your assets, especially if you haven't named...
yeah, that's why a will and an estate is important.
But you're right. But
how many Negroes?
But if you're talking about how many Negroes, you're really talking about how much money.
Well, let me say this. No, so there was an incident.
Even if it's $1,000,
even if it's your Social Security.
Let's be honest. No matter how you spend that $1,000.
But the thing, so even though you're dead and gone, for some people, and you know those people, they gonna fight and scrabble over those $1,000.
Absolutely.
So if you don't do what you need to do as far as getting a will and setting everything up, each child has an equal right to your estate. So going back to just being responsible, if you have multiple children from multiple women, mm-hmm. making
whether
sure...
you claim them, yes or no.
Whether you claim them, yes
Well, if you don't claim them, you don't care how that money's split.
Y'all
got quiet. If you don't claim a kid...
But they care.
But it ain't right. Because you're dead and gone. It has nothing to do with you after you're gone. But you're leaving a mess. That's the problem. You're leaving a mess for now children who probably didn't know about other children, or you're leaving a mess of your life and your
pop up like groundhog.
Oh, of course. And so be intentional of knowing that when you have children, you need to outline things. You need to outline things even if you don't have children. But from assets and child support and things of that nature, and multiple kids and multiple child support orders and things that you need to be understanding of what that looks like from a legal perspective.
And let's do this. Let's throw this in there. Black people need life insurance.
That's a whole
fucking life.
You're right.
We talking about assets. Yeah. Throw that whole life. Get whole life. That's it.
No,
about $10.
No GoFundMe.
You know how many cars and fish fries you have?
You know how sad of a story you got to make popular and throw a white kid. You got to have one white kid. You got to have at least a mixed race Colin Kaepernick baby for your baby to get a GoFundMe really popular. Do we got enough time to talk about one more thing?
We do.
Alternatives to child support, or going to the court for child support. Can we?
Outline it.
I mean, I just throw some ideas out there. I'm pro counseling first. Mm-hmm. Well, first handle your shit if you can. If you are two able-bodied individuals of sound mind, handle that shit yourself. It's not easy. You gonna argue, and the best point of concession for both of y'all is if neither one of y'all are completely happy. Mm-hmm. So alternate on holidays. Figure that shit out. If you can't sit down by yourself with this individual, go to a counselor first. Spend that $50 an hour or whatever to get that. If you can't, then go to the court, but not to the judge. Go to mediation. These are professionals that are used to dealing with this shit. So they don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about this person. They give more of a fuck about the kid and if the kid gonna be in a better situation. Let's be completely honest, and this is not something. Sometimes women and people.
Damn, you had to separate women.
Because this is in those cases where like somebody get the kid after, like, let's God forbid the woman pass away or is not able to take care of the kid. Somebody else takes care of the kid but wants to go after the father. Let's be completely honest, and this goes back to your point on being responsible in who you choose. Everybody ain't meant to be a parent. Absolutely. And if you have children with a man
that has
if they can we ain't even getting there yet. This is the work. This is what I hate when people do. Do not have children with a man that has, if he has raped you, and we got to talk about this. If he's raped you, if he's physically violent towards you, if he will not be a good father for your child to be around, house smell like weed and sell drugs, do not go after him for child support. Why? Because now he has an opportunity to sit with your kid and sit with that judge and ask for time.
Yeah.
And he might not do that for the kid. He might pick that kid up and give it off to a girl, give it off to his parents who don't give a fuck. And now you, for this $200 weak ass dollars, because he ain't got no real ass job, you putting your kid in front of a man for $200 that you give a fuck about and he don't.
Yeah.
Just so he can stick it to you.
Yeah.
That's some irresponsible shit, and you got to say, this ain't worth it for my child. And I've seen it happen. So that shit is ridiculous to me. But alternatives to doing this shit, you have to be more creative than going to the system first, because that shit will cause a rift. And it, in terms of ego and irreparable damages to y'all relationship, it can cause that type of friction. And if you go, let a nigga know. Don't let him come home and be like, oh shit, well, the fuck is this? If you can properly communicate in any way, shape, or form, text him. Get on his Facebook inbox.
Don't you think that most of the time, and I'm trying to think from a respect.
You talking about older people now.
I know, because that's my mindset at this point in time is in regards to, I think we've already had dialogue before I just go and put you on child support. Like I don't think that you think that child support, the order just comes.
But when does that dialogue happen? Some people had a dialogue. Some dudes dip out in the very beginning, and I don't give a fuck about them.
It should not. Unfortunately, child support should not, you said this, it should not be a reactive thing for you. It should be a proactive. So if you fucking dipped out, you need to make sure that the conversation that you have is handling your goddamn business, having those discussions. Child support should not be reactive.
It has to be reactive.
No. You said handle your business and go to the court.
I get it. That's
proactive.
But it's still a reactive thing, because if she's pregnant, now that's a reaction. You still gonna go.
But you're being proactive with child support.
With the child support.
If she that type of person.
No.
This is if you know she's Mark Anthony, I'm pregnant. So if you know that she is pregnant, you know there has to be a discussion about the financial responsibility of the child. So
all the responsibility of the child.
That financial responsibility is a priority for most, and the physical responsibility ain't. Unless you just want your time to yourself.
I think the court system looks at financial. I think there's a high.
But he's talking about being creative.
So let's just talk about financial responsibility.
Okay.
Because he mentioned about let me know that's what you did, right? Mm-hmm. So, and only thing I'm saying is if you know that you have impregnated her, you know that there's a financial responsibility in addition to other responsibilities. So why is it a surprise when somebody knocking at your door if you haven't had the conversation with her as far as how you're going to take care of that child? Reality. It shouldn't be a surprise,
right? That's like not paying your light bill, and you know the third, right? When you flick it on and it don't work, you knew they was going to turn your goddamn lights off,
man. Because the amount of emotion that I've seen women have regarding pregnancy,
everybody ain't like that.
I ain't saying all. Did I say all?
You're trying to generalize
the
though.
amount
She's emotional
of
right now.
It's justified emotion. You got a human being growing inside of you. That is justified emotion.
It is.
And when I'm ready to have another kid with my wife, we are definitely going to have. I'm going to be much more understanding of the emotional aspect, because you eating for two, shit, you emotional for two. Shit might even for 300. But I need to be overly understanding of what's going on with your body. And so everybody don't have that same level. Because if you fucking and leaving, you really doing some shit.
Even if you leaving, guess what? You should not be surprised if you get served.
Right. And that's
because it's coming.
It's coming. The child is here. Just to close us out, the child is here. The child needs to be taken care of financially and otherwise.
Shout out to Sweden
for the plan
for
C,
being creative.
The plan C option, because they're giving you 4 months.
Oh, creative asses.
But what I'm saying is,
moving to Sweden, Coda.
If we know our rights,
you start the movement here.
We know our they ain't happening. If we know our rights, from the male and female perspective, I think if we use some of the creative ideas, if it does happen, that Mark Anthony talked about, and I think, Sheneka, like you said, being proactive and having the conversation and not waiting for the incident to come to you and now you got to deal with it. I think that we are. What are you laughing for?
I'm listening to you.
I can't stand you. I think that we just, again, need to be more intentional with the things that we do, especially when it comes to children and child support and our responsibilities of that. Mm-hmm. Okay? So we have rambled for a while.
Yeah. That's good information.
It is good information.
I like my little rant that I did.
I'm gonna send that one to you just for you.
I appreciate it.
All right, but we want to thank you guys for listening to us today. Mark Anthony, thanks for being here.
I appreciate the invite.
Always. You're always invited. You gave us some great. I love you actually wrapped it up for us when you gave us other alternatives besides going to.
That was on my heart.
I see. Sheneka, thanks for your facts.
Thank you. And thank you, Pasha B.
Thank you.
For having us. For providing a platform.
Providing a platform. I'm going to shout out the website, Ordinary People Media. That's www.ordinarypeoplemedia.com. And thanks for listening to us today.
All right.
All right. See y'all later.